And good evening, everyone. Before we get started with the questions, I wanted to follow up some of the things I said yesterday. I came to a Thai temple and discovered that the culture of Southeast Asia Buddhism believes so strongly in helping a person achieve their own freedom and liberation and Nibbana that they will do just about anything they can to support your practice. And so, unlike going to American retreats where you may have to pay hundreds up to thousands of dollars to practice, a person could come to a temple and you would be allowed to practice without needing to worry about such things as food, your housing, and give you every opportunity to practice as deeply as you want. So a Thai temple in particular, these are the ones that I know, everywhere I've been in Thai temples, gives me the opportunity to practice without being concerned about some of the things that did worry me when I was still working and found it hard to pay hundreds to thousands of dollars for a retreat. I could come to this monastery, you could go to any monastery, and the community will support you. Once they understand that you're sincere about practice and about learning to practice, they will do what they can to help you. The monks, the community, everyone is here to support you. And this is really the nature of Buddhist practice in Southeast Asia. The culture is completely organized to support the monk, so that the monk could then go to his temple and practice. What I didn't say last night was when I was in Thailand and ordained as a monk, every morning we would go out to the villages to collect alms, and I was the one and only white person on this line of monks collecting alms in the morning. And I was very touched by what I saw in these villages. The little old grandmas would get up way before dawn and cook hot, sticky rice and other things for the monks to live, and would be with great pleasure and in their way of demonstrating their love for the Dhamma, come out and place some food in your bowl. The little children were taught that they are part of this tradition, and so they put food in your bowl. And when I returned to the monastery and it was almost time to eat our one meal a day, or 2 meals a day, I remembered every grain of rice and every packet of food that was donated to help this person they did not know to practice. So by their making merit and supporting my life, I was able to bring that back to the temple and practice for the rest of the day. That's something that Americans just really don't know about. That when you were to come to, say, this temple, Wat Buddha Wawaram in Denver, the rice that's put on your plate and the food that's put in front of you is there for one purpose only, and that's for your practice, for your own liberation, for your own freedom, for Nibbana. It's done with great meaning by the Thai people to support your practice, and I accept it because I will use their food to give me energy to practice here. So the monks in this community, the Thai community of Denver, invite you to come here and to learn how to practice, how to meditate, sometimes in English, sometimes in Thai, sometimes in both. But you're being given a gift to achieve your own freedom. This is really one of the core values of Southeast Asians, Buddhists in particular. I've asked this gentleman next to me, Blaze, to ask a few questions, and I'll be answering them to the best of my ability. But I did want you to know how much of a resource this temple really is to you and for you. And once again, because I offer retreats here occasionally, give me your information through the website and I will contact you and let you know when I'm coming in to teach. And if I'm not here, the monks are able to help teach you and get you started in a practice. So I'm going to turn to Blaze and his question.
Okay, so since we're talking about going to temples, and it's something that Westerners don't have a lot of experience with, I'm wondering if you can talk about general formalities.
Yeah, this is a big concern for Americans because they are afraid of offending. They don't want to offend anyone in a foreign environment. And this is a little bit of Thailand right here. Well, there are some things that I always teach the Americans when they come here. First and foremost, you don't touch monks, men or ladies. Don't touch the monk. And to greet them, you would do something as simple as this, just acknowledging their presence, and they will acknowledge you back, sometimes even with a handshake. They know Americans know handshakes, and they will do that. When you're in a Thai temple, and if you're in a Buddha hall, where the central Buddha statue is, you don't want to point the bottoms of your feet towards the statue. There is a general area where the monks are when they're here for ceremonial reasons. It's a carpet, and so you're asked not to be on that carpet, reserved for the monks. You want to dress modestly and clean as possible. It is not necessary to wear white until you begin to understand what wearing white means in this tradition. So you don't have to run out and buy a new wardrobe. However, Walmart has some very inexpensive white clothing. And you'll be given a place to sleep, especially if you're here to practice. Most of the monks have enough English to understand what you're asking about. When the lay people greet you, they'll do that to you, and all you do is greet them back. Some will say it also, hello and welcome, and things such as that. Ordinary common courtesy is what works in a Thai temple, because most of the women in this community have married American men. They understand how much Americans don't know about the culture and the customs, And so they're extremely forgiving. And so you don't need to worry about that. But it is helpful to have someone around to say, don't do that just because you just don't do that in this culture. Just some ordinary sensitivities towards other ways works very well. Your street language stays out in the street. When you come on retreat, I ask all people to shut off their cell phones and to leave the politics outside the walls of the temple building. There's nothing more distracting than those kinds of things. And we just put our minds to learning how to meditate and the practice. Any other customs that you can think that I didn't mention?
No, I thought that was pretty good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
So now going into some practice, what particular practice do you do and do you teach?
I teach insight meditation. It's referred to as Vipassana meditation. It comes directly out of the Mahasi school, a Burmese school and tradition, modified for the Thai culture and further modified by Ben Heffer for Americans, so that Americans can get over some of the beginning hurdles more easily. Just moments ago we were talking about extremely slow walking, and yes, that is part of the practice, but beginners oftentimes have a hard time being balanced and secure in their footsteps. So my modification is to walk more normally so you can begin paying attention to the walking and the sitting part of the practice. And those are two major parts of the Vipassana practice. It's important in this practice to split the walking with the sitting. So if you are walking for half an hour, you then sit for half an hour. Or if you walk for an hour, then you want to sit for an hour. What we're doing is balancing concentration and mindfulness. And I define mindfulness as paying attention to exactly what's happening when it's happening, and the energy to hold your attention on what's happening is called concentration. So you need both of those things in order to begin to grow in your practice. Whether you're walking, whether you're sitting, whether you're shopping at Safeway or King Super, Costco, with your spouse, everywhere in life, this same technique is very easily transferred into all aspects of life. Other forms of Vipassana are taught in Denver, but not at this temple.
Thank you.
Sure.
What are some main differences between the Vipassana insight meditation versus, not necessarily versus, compared to other meditation techniques?
Okay. I can only speak to the ones that I've experienced. I started off my meditation practice in Zen practice, Japanese practice, and that's in the northern schools of Buddhism, Mahayana. And while I enjoyed the practice a lot, I was not getting clear answers on what do I do with my body, what do I do with my feet when I'm walking, what do I do with my mind, what do I do with my hands and my body. For whatever reasons, those simple questions, beginner questions, were never answered clearly. And I got really frustrated in that I wasn't getting the clear instruction that I needed. So I began looking towards other systems. I took a 10-day Goenka course. Now he is a teacher of quite some popularity in the West. He also was a Burmese teacher, not in the Mahasi lineage though. And 10 days of very intense practice. I don't recommend it for a beginner, but by the time I took it, I was not a beginner. And I found that, Vipassana really answers the questions that I was looking for. What do you do? What comes next? So forth and so on. It's very clear teaching. But it wasn't quite right for me. And that's another piece of advice I have for beginning meditators. One practice may be better for you than others, others not so good, and others just wonderful. So because we live in a culture that we do, we have the chance to visit other temples, see other ways of practice, and seeing what works. So eventually, after being frustrated with the Zen way, I looked up in the yellow pages and I looked up in the internet for Buddhist centers in Denver. And my wife and I started visiting, and I never got past this temple because for me, it was the practice, the meditation practice was supported by the culture of the people. And I wanted that. I also wanted a place that was a monastery so that I could come and practice when I had the ability to come and practice. I also needed a place that I could afford to go to and practice. I also found this within 3.5 hours of my home, so I wasn't traveling across the country in order to practice, which it's very expensive and time consuming as well. So there were many things about this temple, but if I hadn't just happened to it, I never would have known about this place and what's going on here. And I'm glad that I have come here. I met my teachers here and continue to work with them and do some teaching here. We're drawing down on the 20 minutes of time on this recording, so there's about 2 minutes left. So you got a short, quick question for me?
I have a short, quick question that's not so quick.
Okay, give it a try.
To see what we can do. I'm wondering, how long does it take to start seeing results from this particular practice of meditation?
Well, if you're sincere and you really apply the teacher's guidance, and that's always the problem, it can happen immediately. But that also depends on what you bring to the practice. And because I had experienced practice in other forms, I was well prepared for what was happening here. And I saw growth quickly because I got the clear answers.
Sure.
Just what I needed. For others, it can take a while because as a beginning practitioner, oftentimes you get excited, leave a retreat, and then there's nothing to support you at home. And it can fall away very easily, very quickly as a brand new practitioner. So it's helpful to keep in touch with your teacher if possible. It's important to practice with others, very important to practice with others, especially if you're new at it, and to keep an understanding of why you're doing this. You're not practicing to relax, even though relaxation does happen to the body during practice. You're there to achieve your own freedom, and that's going to take a great deal of work. And understand that little bit by little bit, day after day, is really hard for the beginner, but just 5 minutes is all it takes. Do it every day, and you'll see growth. And suddenly you'll realize, I can do 10 minutes now. And you do that for a while, and you find out you can do 15 minutes, and 20 minutes, and 30 minutes, and it gradually grows. don't want to push yourself beyond what you're comfortable with, especially at the beginning, so you won't get frustrated. Our time is up right now, and thank you for listening. This will be up on YouTube, and this is Blaze's debut in front of the world. So we're done for now. Thank you very much.
โปรดหมู่ประชากรมาละโอคกันดารชี้ทางบรรเทาทุกข์และชี้สุขเกษมสารชี้ทางพระนฤพานอันพ้นโศกวิโยภัยพร้อมเบญจพิทาจักรสุจรัตน์วิมลใสเห็นเหตุที่ไกลไกลก็เจนจบประจักษ์จริงกำจัดน้ำใจหยาบสันดานบาปแห่งชา